right, the time has come. Hello, everybody. My name is Tom. It's nice to see you there, all the guests and all the viewers who are watching us tonight or today, depending on where you are in the world right now. We have two guests with us, two speakers. I'll just add you to the stage real quick. So, Casper and Derick, hello, guys.
Hi, Tom. Hi, Derick.
Nice to see you here. Before we start, let's just check if everybody hears me well. So please drop a comment with a number 1 if you hear us well, all of us, so we can make sure everything is fine. Then, in the meantime, while people are gathering around, Noah said hello there, so good. We're heard. Amazing. So, in the meantime, prepare coffee or tea, whatever you like, in the beginning, before enjoying our webinar, and basically we can start. So we have two speakers today. It's Casper De Groot and Derick Mildred. Casper, could you please introduce yourself shortly?
Sure. I'm Casper, originally from the Netherlands. You might pick it up from my accent. I've been based in Ireland for the last 9 years, after having worked in Europe, Africa, and Oceania. Last year, at the beginning of last year, I joined AR Evolution. It's an Australian company that provides training on fin crime, cybersecurity, AI, and quantum to boards and C-suites. We also use ourselves AI, and we also advise senior management on AI.
Okay, amazing. Nice. Will be interesting to listen to today. All right, and Derick, could you please shortly introduce yourself now? We don't hear you, Derick. Sound. No, again. Nope. Technical issues. Sometimes happens. Let's give you just 30 seconds to solve it, and then let me see. All right. Okay.
Okay, can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Okay,
yes.
Awesome. Apologies for that, technical issues, as we know. Derick Mildred is my name, everybody. I am a LinkedIn for Business coach, author, course creator, and trainer. I first originally signed up for LinkedIn way back in 2004. So this year, very soon, I'm coming up to 21 years officially, and looking forward to sharing more of my story after we hear from Casper.
That's quite a big span of time. 20 years. That's that's a lot. All right, cool. Thank you very much. And then it's time for Casper to take the stage. So Casper, feel free, and the stage is yours. Good luck.
Thank you very much, Tom. And yes, today we will be talking, or at least on my part, talking about converting prospects into clients, into advocates, and what we can use there potentially in AI as AI application as well. So first of all, of course, as a small business or entrepreneur, you've got a few challenges. You either have lack of time or you have lack of business. If the business is not correctly going into your workflow or your pipeline. And of course, it requires a lot of flexibility and agility. You don't have big budgets normally, not compared to bigger players in the market. So that is also a disadvantage for you. You probably depend more on your own personal network and word of mouth to attract business and to keep business, which is another element which for some people is easier than for others. And I'm sure as well your experience as a entrepreneur is that you are building things or relying a lot on trust, whether it's by personal connections or trust in the product or service you provide. But then again, if you have a good product and service, but you don't have a personal connection, often people will not recommend you because they would like to have that personal element in there as well. So it's always important to give extra attention to your clients or customers, and remember that as well in their lifetime, in the connections, and every time you interact with them. For me as a child, I knew that when I went to the butcher, or with my mother, I was always getting a little slice of sausage. Very small thing, perhaps more interesting for my mother, that she thought that I was getting something I liked. But it's those kind of things which will help people to remind you, as well as to remind people of the product and service you provide, whether it's the slice of the sausage itself or something else. That said, marketing and sales doesn't have to be too complicated or expensive. You have, as an entrepreneur, an advantage because you are or can be agile. You're often close to your customer. By definition, you are when you're a small organization. You might even deal with the customer directly yourself, and you can give it a personal touch. But you can also make use of different tools, which can make a bigger difference than it originally looks like it is. Before I start with the main part, I just want to show a few definitions or share a few definitions. Marketing is all about creating awareness. Social media, including LinkedIn, where Derick will tell us more about, is a very useful tool. But also you've got sales, which is basically converting the awareness into revenue. Again, social media can help you there a lot. And I mentioned already the word client and customer, and there is a difference in those. Customers in general are more transactional, one-off, product-centric elements often you see in retail. Clients are more relational, based on a good relation, a longer term, therefore often it's based on service or a service around a product, and often relates to more professional services like accountants. Keeping that in mind, it already depends on how you will approach your customer or your clients. So in that regard, it's good to think about those topics in relation to your proposition. Your proposition is based on your product and service which you offer, where it is a commodity product like a cup of coffee, or more client specific, where it is basically related to, for example, the accounting of a company, or the specific cup of coffee, which we nowadays have much more. In the older days, it was either a coffee with milk, or a coffee with milk and sugar, or coffee with sugar, or a coffee without anything. Nowadays, we have got much more specifics, which makes it more specific, and it might not be seen as a commodity anymore, but you can bring it in as a specific service or product to your customer or client. So next to your product and your service you offer as part of your proposition, it's important to identify your clients, why they want to have what you have to offer. You can define customer profile, it could be multiple profiles, etc. Another part to think about your proposition is, what channels are you using? Is that a physical shop? Therefore, you might have physical advertisements, or is everything done online, whether it's a shop, or if you're providing services which are less frequently used and you might not have a physical presence in a shopping street, you might use online elements like Facebook or LinkedIn or a website, etc. You can also, of course, mention things or attend events and mention your business over there. You can try to do it through your own network, your friends, your existing customers, etc. Part of that as well is that it is important to be very regular and consistent there with your information and your communication. Now bring me back to the kind of what is already mentioned in my title, from your prospect towards a customer, towards an advocate of your business. It's basically the client life cycle. And in there we identify 6 steps. It's the awareness of your existings, consideration, considering you as a provider or a product seller, the acquisition, your prospect is becoming your client, your retention, you keep your client as a recurrent customer for either the cup of coffee or for the accounting for the next 5 years. Then you grow your business overall, you get more customers, and the customer is wanting to do more things with you, whether it's buying coffee as well as regular other activities or doing other products, etc. And also then becoming your customer, becoming an advocate of your business, providing you referrals. So the 6 different steps we will talk about in each different section here. The first one is the awareness. The client must know that you exist. For that one, you have your different channels, whether online or physical. But the first thing is to make and create that visibility. Share what you're doing, work on your local network, attend events, etc. First of all, one of the things which happens often nowadays, even if you've got a physical shop, it's good to have a website. In order to build a website, in the older days, my first website was built in '95. You build it from scratch and you're having semi-coding to be done. Nowadays, that can easily be done automated, whether with AI assistance or without. A good element or tool for that one is wix.com, wix.com. You can create your own account there, and with some AI assistant, it will ask you some questions and it builds up your own website. Very easy to use for smaller organizations, and you can get it personalized with some tools and images and text which you would like to add to that. There are other ones as well. You might have heard about them, like Shopify, GoDaddy, Squarespace, etc. Another one for more service-based businesses is Durable.co. A very good one to use that for your different types of business if you provide services. But of course, you can also use Gen AI like ChatGPT or Gemini from Google, or Microsoft Copilot or any others to get. Those tools can help you to give you some ideas of what you could do. I always think about it as a brainstorming element. It can give you different perspective. If you have an idea, this is what I think for this customer. Is this working as well for another customer? You can use it to review or write some of your marketing text. And you can even make sure that it doesn't look too much as a ChatGPT or Gemini. You can make it based on your own tone of voice by uploading some examples of other communication you have used or done in the past yourself. This is the first part or the first step of your customer or client lifecycle. The second part is the consideration. The client to consider or to be, first of all, interested in buying a service or product which you are offering. And what the client is doing is seeing you, whether it's again the shop with the coffee and look next door, there is another coffee shop, or looking at the product you're selling or the service you're selling to your website, it looks at you as well as to others. So an element there is to make sure that you are being considered, is to really having a clear explanation of the product or service you're providing, potentially with some case studies where it can be applied to, and also some testimonials from existing or other clients. Again, that assumes that you already have some clients which are further in the pipeline or in their life cycle. But most of all, coming again to the more personal touch, is to be responsive and be approachable. Doesn't mean 24/7. Could be nice depending on the area or the business you're doing, but mainly to be responsible and set the expectations right from the beginning. What can be very useful in those kind of things is an AI chat box or a chat box created by AI to help customers to find the right information. Of course, we should not forget the human touch. And there are a few examples of tools and applications which do that. Some of the chat boxes are really designed for social media platforms or e-commerce stores, like, for example, built on Facebook and Instagram or on Shopify. To give you an example, many chats and chat fuel are platforms which are built or linking with Facebook and messengers or Instagram. They're simple to be used by people who are not developers, and they can help you to create a chat box. Another one which can be trained on your own data, whether it's on your website, your product descriptions or your service catalog, etc., are tools like Chatbase, Botsonic. They are reading your information and allowing customers then to ask questions based on that documentation as if it is a chatbot. The element, of course, which is very important is the human interaction. And there are other platforms who are transitioning it easier from a chat box into the more human connection or the human interaction directly to you or your colleagues. Some applications like that are TDO, TIDIO, which provides a AI chatbot as well as the live chat, and it is a seamlessly transition. Another one is Intercom and Fresh Chat. Both of them are all working with a chat box, instant messaging, and moving it towards the customer, towards the yourself, the seller, when things are becoming too complicated or to become too repetitive or whatever, where the chat box will see that you are not able to, or they are not able to provide the answer and they need a human interaction. That covers the first two parts of the awareness and the consideration of you as a provider of a service or a product. Then, of course, it becomes the first sale or the engagement with the prospect, where the prospect becomes a client, basically the acquisition of the client. As an SME or an enterprise entrepreneur, it's important to make the onboarding easy, smooth, and personal. In a shop, it might mean that it's easy to identify where the products are and that it's easy to make a payment, whether it's on cash or digital or whatever, provide the different options. As a service provider, it might mean that it is easy to understand what service you are providing and get a good estimation of the work related to that. Could be price, could be the duration of the implementation, etc. All key in those kind of things is that there is clear expectations on what can be expected. And then, of course, potentially deliver the value quickly and very well with a good quality, because in the end, first impression are very important. There are elements where things can be used for online actions on social media, where social media can be used, for example, for outbound calls, inbound marketing. You also have paid strategies with those kind of things, but I'm sure Derick will cover them as part of his presentation. Other tools which can help you to assist with the whole acquisition, especially when you have things online with websites, etc., are some workflow tools. Tools which are helping you to create a response, know that there is a product sold and you want to make sure that the details of that client is being covered in your contact database. And those tools are, for example, Zapier as well as relay.app. Those are really created or help to create a workflow for you. They are often assisted as well with AI assistance, and to ensure that things are being built for you in the way you want to have it. And also they have an integration with, for example, ChatGPT or other related or similar tools. The fourth step is retaining your customer, moving it from a one-off sale of your cup of coffee to repeated visits to get more coffee and perhaps even a croissant or another pastry. What is important with these kind of things is that you have got a regular follow-up with your customer. Know what they like, recognize them when they walk in, or see that they bought previously something else, so that you can make sure that they know what they bought previously, or that something else could be very complementary to what the product they bought before. Of course, you also have loyalty cards. You can make personalized offers, or creating a package whereby you say, like, if you buy this, this will be for 50% discount, and those kind of things. It's good to be proactive in this kind of things. as well as be consistent and continue to have a good quality product. Make sure that the coffee is in the same temperature when you give the coffee every day or every week. And also with services, make sure that they are clear on when they can expect things, but at the same time, repeat the expectations. Deliver one day earlier, deliver at the first or the second day of the month, those kind of things. Next to those kind of elements, you can also seek for feedback. And SurveyMonkey, probably known by most of you, is a good tool to be used for that. But also normal generative AI can help with that, like ChatGPT. Again, you can search things on the data you have acquired, whether it's in your CRM system or somewhere else. You can all use those kind of different tools to help you to get a good connection with your customer so that your customer will stay with you. Another one, which might be worth mentioning as well, is for loyalty cards, etc., or loyalty programs. There are some tools on the market there as well, which are relatively easy to be used. And then one of them is smile.io, an easy way of using creating a loyalty program with customers which are coming to you more often, or ensuring your customer will come more often. The fifth step in the client lifecycle is the growth and the expansion. A satisfied client will spend more, will buy other products from you or services, and will possibly engage you even into what they want. So they will go to you if they like your service for one part. They might come to you and ask you if you could provide another service. That's the right one. That's a good customer to have. It goes beyond the retention. They actually want you to provide perhaps not coffee when they come by your shop, but they might want you to service the coffee and the pastries in their office. What is important there for you to understand is that you can offer different packages. You can have some complementary services on that one based on your own or current product and service. You can find a partner who might be able to give you some thoughts, work with other parties to identify if you can expand or broaden your services, and also, of course, ask clients for feedback. We do it with the retention, but when you want to grow and expand your business, client referrals and reviews are very important. And a good part at this stage to use, or good systems to use at this moment, are CRM systems. Salesforce is a very known product. Another one is Soho. But of course, all of that data needs to be analyzed as well. There are tools like Microsoft BI and Tableau, which are using data or analyzing data you provide to them. There's often as well a lot of AI tools around those products, which will help you to analyze and to assist you in the analysis. Another one worth mentioning is Julius.ai, which helps you to upload data sets and ask and analyze and visualize different data. Within AR Evolution, we have partnered with IBM and Nurex. They're doing that as well, but for much more bigger organizations. Then the sixth and last step of the client lifecycle is the advocacy. Have the clients being so well accustomed to you that they are staying and that they're even asking you for different services which you might not have provided in the first instance. Have them become your promoters. Let them recommend your services or products to others. One of the elements to do there is to ask them for referrals, to put them on your website or on your Facebook or on your LinkedIn, for example. Create a more referral reward. You can help, and there are some tools on that one as well, like Referral Hero or Referral Rocket. These are tools which help you to create a referral program whereby your existing customers will help you with referrals and which will be recorded accordingly. Those kind of things can really help you in this last step of your client's life cycle. Again, what I said at the beginning, and this is also where I will end with again, marketing and sales doesn't have to be too complicated or expensive. There are a lot of tools available which you can use, and I mentioned several of those. And again, don't forget, you as an entrepreneur are easier to be agile and flexible than bigger organizations. You are close to your clients, so use that as a personal touch. Make them feel comfortable, make them recognize you, become and be the face of your own organization. And you can of course use the tools, as I said before, to make with small steps a bigger difference. I think
Perfect. Sorry. Keep going. Keep going, Casper. Keep going.
Oh, that was my story, Tom. So I hope that was relatable to some of the audience here, and to see that there is a lot of tools which can help them in their kind of way of doing business.
Hmm.
I don't know
Yeah,
if there
you
are any.
mentioned quite many. You mentioned quite many tools. Now let's see if we have any questions. Now
Yep,
there is a little bit of a delay, so let's just
I noticed that.
ask everybody to ask questions and give 1 minute for a short Q&A.
Yep.
And thank you very much, Casper. You mentioned many tools, many different
Mm-hmm.
ones. Thank you very much for that. I think that was quite useful. One of the things I also wanted to mention is that
Mm-hmm.
many of those tools that, for example, you mentioned, which was ChatSonic, then ManyChat for automation of social media, and now at
Mm-hmm.
CRM as well. We have many of those things inside our platform, which is called Skill Model AI.
Mm-hmm.
So, guys who are watching us, you can always check it out. It's ai.skillmodel.com. You can go there, take a 15-day free trial, and try many of those as well. So, all right, we have one question from Rinvido. There we go. I'm highlighting it on the screen. How to onboard clients?
I suppose that is kind of on a more technical piece, but I'm not sure if that's correct. To onboard clients, the first part, and that comes back to the life cycle, is to create the awareness and make sure that they understand who you are and what products you are, and that they would consider you. If you've got that element there, you can already have, and that's where you've got your hook. It then becomes, as an entrepreneur, more on a personal touch. So why would they come to you? What is standing out? And if you know what potential clients you are targeting for, you can take that care of that as part of your proposition. So that's kind of the overall marketing element. Is it more on the technical piece? If you want to say, okay, well, I've got my customer and I want to make sure that I know that they are my customers, and it's not because of the cup of coffee that I recognize them, but I know that they're coming on my site, or I know that they are coming more often, but I want to make sure that I don't forget that. I think a CRM system is very good to use. And that could be as simple as an Excel sheet, first of all, to say, okay, well, I've got Tom here. He's attending my webinar this week, and I would like him to attend also the one of next week and of next month. Make sure that you know who your customers are, who have shown interest, and record those kind of things. If that's the kind of the questions, to understand it from as part of the life cycle, as well as more kind of on the technical piece, just make sure that you know who your potential customers are, so that you can come back to them and remind them of your product and service.
Right, good. Thank you, Rinvido, for the question. Thanks, Casper, for the answer. Simon says, thank you. He's saying
Good.
that. And yeah, let's see. Last 15 seconds for the questions, and then we'll continue on.
Mm-hmm.
All right, yeah, we have something. Boom. What is the biggest pain for small business?
From own experience, I think it's always difficult to get the first customer in. That is the biggest challenge. And when you have that, then of course the element is a lot of customers might come at the same time. It's, if you're a small business, you are perhaps depending only on yourself or perhaps 2 or 3 other colleagues. And how do you manage the kind of, I want to say the workflow, but it's more the flow of the products and services which are being requested to you. You have less flexibility than a bigger organizations. So I think that is the biggest pain. So how do you manage that? Is it by prioritizing that, by focusing on the bigger or the better clients, which will help you in the longer term? Or is it by getting a few other people into the organization to make sure that you can provide the service? For a coffee shop, that might be easier, perhaps not for the barista, but more for less perhaps cleaning and servicing the customer. It might be easier to get additional staff. If you're very specialized, it might be much more difficult to do so. And I think that is the biggest pain for small organizations.
All right. Thank you very much, Casper, again. All right, so it's time to move on. Thanks for your part, your speech. It was spectacular. I liked it a lot. Hopefully our viewers as well liked it. So, all right, let's move then. And I'll add Derick to the stage now. There we go. Hi, Derick. Do you hear me well?
Hello, Tom. Hello, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
I hear you well. Yeah, let us know if you guys hear Derick well as well. Yeah, I think so. Everything's fine. All right, Derick. So the stage is yours. It's showtime. Let's go.
Fantastic. First of all, there's one thing I'd like to point out before we get started, and that is, isn't it just an amazing world that we live in, where we can jump on a call like this and have people join us from all over the world and have this kind of interaction? I think it's just extraordinary, where when I think of how far we've come over the last however many years to where we are now and the future that lies ahead, it's just exciting times. It truly is. Guys, everybody, what I'd like to do just to get started today is give you a little bit of background about myself, how I got started. I am a solopreneur. I run my own business, so I know what it's like. And I first signed up officially for LinkedIn way back in 2004, in October, as a matter of fact. So I'm coming up to 21 years next month. And interestingly, though, I did very little with it until 2013, when I was building websites and doing SEO and guaranteeing to get people onto page one on Google. And I was actually using the Wix platform that Casper mentioned earlier on. And I've built all of my websites for many years on that platform. And I was sharing an office with a friend of mine back in 2013. And she walked into the office one day and she said that she had just heard LinkedIn described as the professional or business version of Facebook. And I thought, that sounds interesting. Maybe I should have another look at that. So I found my old original login details, logged into my original LinkedIn account to discover I had a low 207 connections. And so it was 2013 where my real journey actually began. I started looking around for people that I could see knew what they were doing with the platform. And I modeled myself on just two of them. And one of the things that I noticed back then was this one person that I was modeling myself on, she was writing a lot of articles. And so that's what I did. I started writing a lot of articles, 1 or 2 per week. And basically what I was talking about was, what should a good website include? And I learned a very valuable lesson from these articles, because these articles would start to generate leads. This was before the days of Zoom. So I would get a message in my LinkedIn inbox, or I would get an email, or sometimes even a direct phone call. And people would say to me, we'd like to talk to you about a website. And I would naturally ask them, where did you hear about me from? Or how did you find me? And they would all say, we've been following your articles. Now, the valuable lesson that I learned was approximately 50% of those leads that were coming in were people who had not liked or commented on my articles. They'd just been sitting in the background, patiently watching, waiting for when they were ready to reach out and make contact. Essentially, they were stalking me, but in a nice way. And so that was a valuable lesson for me to learn. So I wound up publishing about 180 odd articles, and I generated leads for websites all over Australia. And this is from people that I've never even met. I did the business all over the phone. And then years later, I wound up doing it via Zoom call and also working for people internationally. And so LinkedIn, when you think about it, is an amazing platform to position you and your business, and more importantly, the products, the services, and the solutions that you provide to your target audience. and also how to find more people in that target audience. So there's a couple of different ways that I describe LinkedIn. Number one, to me, LinkedIn is the world's largest database of businesses, their owners, and their employees. And when you think about it, I'm sure you'll agree that's exactly what it is. It has its social media side, which is the news feed or the content feed. And then you also have your profile, which you can customize to pretty much any extent that you like. You can do a lot more as far as customizing your LinkedIn profile than what you can with your Facebook profile, for example. The other way that I describe LinkedIn, and you may like to write this down because this is really important, is LinkedIn is also a tool that you use to get the conversation started. It's a tool that you use to establish, build, and nurture a professional relationship with somebody who, at the right time, when the time's right for both of you, eventually you might wind up doing some business with. Now, there's an unwritten rule of LinkedIn, and that is that you never sell on LinkedIn. And for those of us who have been on the platform for quite some time and who have built up a reasonable number of connections or followers, right now I have 95,000 plus connections and followers. Of those 95,000 followers, about 26,000 of them are connections. So the ones who have been on the platform for quite some time, you may have seen a sales pitch inside your inbox. And most of us react when we get that sales pitch in exactly the same way. And we think, oh no, not another one. And the reason is because, and the reason why there's an unwritten rule that you don't sell on LinkedIn is because when somebody does send you that sales pitch, they haven't established a need. They haven't established whether or not you actually need what they're offering. And so they're sending you that sales pitch in amongst maybe 100 other people that they're sending the same sales pitch to, and they're hoping one or two people are going to take them up on their offer, okay? And so basically they're sending that sales pitch to you too early in the conversation, okay? So instead, what you do on LinkedIn is you establish, build, and nurture that professional relationship, that professional conversation. And then when the time is right, you take that conversation away from LinkedIn, which can be a face-to-face meeting, an invitation to an event, a networking event, etc. It can be a Zoom call, a webinar, whatever the case may be. And it's during that conversation away from LinkedIn where you might go more into the products, the services, the solutions that you provide, the needs of the person that you're talking to, and the fees that you might charge, etc. And some of you, or many of you, may also know that there's an old saying in sales, and that is that the best salespeople in the world, they don't actually sell. They just talk to people, okay? And so that's one of the keys when it comes to selling is don't give people the hard, high pressure sales pitch kind of approach, because most of us have experienced that and we know how much we don't like it. Instead, if you just have a casual conversation to somebody and you try to find some middle ground where you can both work with each other, then you've got a much better opportunity, a much better chance of actually doing some business together. So what's important about using LinkedIn to build, grow, and scale your business? Well, let's look at that. Number one, LinkedIn is the world's #1 B2B platform, okay? And with your profile, you can position yourself as a respected authority within your industry. The content that you post also contributes significantly to that. On your profile, you can also have reviews and recommendations from satisfied clients and customers and people that you've worked with. And because those reviews and recommendations are coming from somebody else's profile, it's very hard to fake those. So there's a lot of social proof. There's a lot of credibility that goes towards you and your business when you do things the right way on LinkedIn. It's an amazing platform. When it comes to content, you might also like to write this down: add value and educate without selling. Those are 6 powerful words. So when you think about what content can you share on LinkedIn, what content would you like to post, what content would your audience like to see, think about how can you add value and educate without selling, okay? And that very type or style of content, that strategy, helps to position you as a respected authority within your industry. Okay. Finally, there's also what's referred to as an 80-20 rule. And so what that refers to, this is content, that refers to 80% of your content should add value and educate without selling. And then in the minds of your audience, your target audience, that then earns you the right for the other 20% of your content to include a call to action. Okay, doesn't necessarily mean you're selling, but it could be a call to action to find out more, or if they want a particular download or a piece of information, a lead magnet, a benefit point, or anything like that, to direct message you or to go to wherever you'd like them to go to, your website, your landing page, etc. So 80% of the time you want to add value and educate without selling, and then 20% of the time continue to add value, but you can include a call to action telling people what they should do next. Okay, so yeah, it's an amazing platform. It's the world's #1 B2B platform. And if you're in business, and most of us are, and you want to build, grow, and scale your business, then you've got to be on LinkedIn, for the simple reason that when somebody comes across your website and they want to know more about you, or they've been referred to you, they've been given your business card, and they want to know more about you, your LinkedIn profile is one place that they're going to look. So yeah, that's the basics of using LinkedIn. It's, as I said, it's an amazing platform, and that's probably everything that I can share with you right now without going too much in depth. So I'd like to open up the call to any questions that you guys might have. Hello, have we got any questions?
Let me see. All right. So, question time, right? Okay. So, guys, it's as well as I mentioned before, right? Slight delay. So let's see if we have any questions upcoming, and then we will proceed. Yeah, we have one from Al. What is the most important thing in marketing? #1 thing you need to know to scale faster.
Thank you, AI Monaco, for asking me that. In my opinion, the #1 thing you need to know to scale faster, there's a couple of them. #1 is to know your why. #2 would be to know your specific target audience. Don't just say you want more customers, but know exactly who they are, the types of people or business that they are, so that you can target more of those. And then 3, I would say, make sure your entire online operation, everything that you do, is as organized, as sorted out, as fine-tuned as possible, because that minimalizes areas for problems. So those would be my 3 points to scale faster.
All right, good. Thank you very much, Al, for the question, and thank you, Derick, for the answer. Let's see if you have any other questions. Let's give it another 30 seconds and see how it goes. I have a question to you, Derick, for myself.
Sure.
Let's imagine that we have people who are not quite familiar with LinkedIn in terms of using it professionally. For example, if you look at me, right, I just use it, I just have it, but I don't particularly use it. So what could be the actionable steps that I could take to, like, put myself on a certain level where I could be found by people that I'm interested in to being found by?
Okay, first of all is to optimize your LinkedIn profile. Okay, and so with that, you would use specific keywords in particular places within your profile, your headline, your about section, your experience sections. And you can research those keywords on a platform called wordtracker.com. Okay, and that will give you the search volumes of the keywords and also alternative keywords. So you can figure out which are going to be the best keywords for you to use. Okay, so think about LinkedIn a little bit like Google, a little bit like Facebook, YouTube, etc. They all have a search engine. Okay, Google is a search engine, as we know. Well, so is LinkedIn, so is Facebook, so is YouTube. And so those search engines rely on keywords. So decide or define your top 3 keywords. Secondly, look at your profile and think about your profile from one of your prospects' point of view. Okay, what are they going to see when they view your profile? Okay, and because ultimately we want to try and get them to want to know more about you, to want to read further, and then to even reach out. Okay, to want to know more about how you can help them. So try and make your profile in a way that, or create your profile in a way that presents you, your business, your products, your services, your solutions as best as possible towards your target audience. And importantly, remember social proof. Okay, you can never have too much social proof, but you can have too little. So this is reviews, recommendations, etc. It still amazes me how many people I see almost on a weekly basis who've got amazing looking profiles, but their last recommendation was given to them in 2015. Okay, and so that invites the issue of people looking at their profile. They go down to their recommendations. They see the most recent one was in 2015. So they're left sitting there asking themselves, is this person even still in business? Okay, yeah. So recent recommendations help significantly. And as I said, you can never have too many, but you can have too little. So get comfortable also asking for those recommendations.
Okay, thank you very much. And we have 2 questions from Simon, by the way. I'll highlight them on the screen now. What's the biggest mistake you see coaches making on LinkedIn?
Selling on the platform would be the first one. Okay. And if the second question, if you had only 30 minutes a day for LinkedIn, what would you focus on? Maybe give 5 tips. Okay. I would focus on, or this is actually what I do. I focus on content, answering comments on my own content, or replying to comments on my own content. I have many people who I'm friends with whose content I support, and then they in turn support mine. So that would be number 1. Number 2 would be my messaging inbox, answering and replying to all messages as quickly as possible. Number 3 would be outreach. Okay, so looking at other people's profiles, potential prospects for my business, etc., and starting up a conversation with them. Number 4 would be prospects via their own content. So that can be another way that you can let them get to know you, by introducing yourself, by commenting on their own content. And number 5 would be just making sure that my profile and my company page and my content presents myself, my business, my products, services, and solutions as best as possible in a way that adds value to the target audience, which is basically exactly what I do.
Okay, good. All right, and then I have a question from Noah. How do you recommend someone to stand out?
2 things. Profile. So make sure your profile presents you as best as possible. And then the second thing would be to interact with other people's content, particularly do it strategically. So think about who is your target audience, and then interact with the content of people in that target audience. And when you interact with a like and a meaningful comment, because what you're literally doing when you're commenting on somebody else's post is you're showing interest in that post for starters, but you're also starting a conversation with them potentially. Okay, and so they might, if they're using LinkedIn well, they'll reply to that comment. And so you can keep that conversation going backwards and forwards a couple of times, or you can support their next post. And so you're letting them get to know you before you actually reach out and request to connect with them. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yes, it does. I see. Okay, good then. I don't see any other questions there. So thanks, Noah, for the question, and everybody else for the question. Thanks, Derick, for the answer. And yeah, guys, so we came all the way up to the very end. I'll just add Casper to the screen. All right, Casper. There you go. Hi again. So thank you guys for participating. It was nice having you here. So hopefully you liked it as well. So yeah, do you have any maybe final words, and then we'll just finish. Derick.
Casper?
All right.
Just wanted to thank everybody for the opportunity to be here, and hope everybody got some good insights that they can use that will help them.
And Casper?
Yeah, I can concur with that. Thanks for the opportunity, and hopefully it's been useful for the people who are watching or will be watching it when it is being published again as a video.
Perfect. Yeah. Thank you very much. Thanks, guys, again for being here. Simon says thank you. So good for that. And yeah, guys, thank you very much. So it's time, and yeah, thank you very much, and bye for now.
Thank you. Bye for now.
Bye for now. See you later, guys. Bye.